So it looks like once again the Baron has pinged everyone in the Discord to let us know that they are about to release a new update for Blade and Sorcery called 1.2, the Centauri update. So let's go ahead and click on the Steam and meta news and take a look. So the Baron says before they take a break from the holiday season, they want to give us a little sneak peek at what's coming. The Rokta update is now fully complete, so the team have already moved on to the next Bioth series, which is going to be called the Centauri update. If you guys didn't know, they're going to be releasing 4 total new content updates. We just had the Rokta, now it's going to be the Centauri. So this update is themed around the Centauri, which is a small maritime nation west of Eridan, renowned for its sailors, its mercantilism, is that a word? I'll let you pass, and moreover, piracy. So this news is not only going to be a little bit of a preview of things to come, Baron's also going to do a deeper dive in January, and they hope, and that's the hope in the ballpark anyway, to basically get a release around the end of February 2026. But for right now, let's get into the news. So first off, our new weapons and armors. Oh, look at these things. I really hope these stands come with the weapons too, but maybe not. These might just be for the renders. But the meat and the potatoes of every Bioth update is going to be a new series of weapons and armor, and we can always count on having these every single update. In Centauri weaponry, the design is directly inspired by Mediterranean maritime nations, drawing influence from sailors, pirates, privateers, and Baron has saved most of the previews for later, but here's a little teaser. Just look at this cutlass. Oh my God, that looks so well made. And then you also have like a little harpoon right there with the rope on it, a boarding axe, and apparently there's going to be 8 total weapons ranging across categories from blades, axes, and spears. Although I'm not seeing anything on here that says a flintlock pistol. Come on, man. But in terms of armor, the Centauri attire is more suitable for sailing than fighting, so their outfit will be consistent of more light wear that's more oriented towards mobility and comfort over protection. So it's more fashion than it is protection, but that's okay. Look at that captain's hat we're gonna be able to wear. But now this will give us the new Centauri faction. So following up on the additional news about 1.1.1, making the Rokta playable in dungeons and more waves, he also is confirming that's going to be this true for the Centauri. So we will also be able to fight them as faction waves in Sandbox, as well as do a Sandbox style dungeon. So I want you to keep that in mind. If you're going into the Crystal Hunt series, you're not going to fight the Rokta and you're not going to fight the Centauri. They are completely reserved for the Sandbox arenas as well as the Sandbox dungeon. But now, apparently, Baron has a big surprise. You know Warfrog and their little secrets. So he says, you heard me say this a million times. We need these Bioth updates to be tight and not succumb to scope creep while they are working on their new game. They don't want to get sidetracked. Remember, Blade and Sorcery 9 is coming out. They're all working on it, so that's what they're currently working on. However, their team couldn't resist in classic Warfrog style. So now we have the new Bioth faction maps. So the absence of faction maps was simply too glaring of an omission from the Bioth updates to leave alone. So after chatting with the environmental team, the guys really made they took a break from working on Blade and Sorcery 9, and they took a step back to help us out with Blade and Sorcery again, and they designed some new maps for every faction that's going to be coming out and is out. So yes, that does include the Rokta. And we get to look at a little bit of a sneak peek right here. This is like their dojo with amazing, like the tree of Yggdrasil in the background there. The lighting looks amazing. I cannot wait to play on this map. Jeez, that looks so cool. I know most players are gonna love this. Jeez. So the map will be playable in sandbox mode, but you will also be able to get access to them in Crystal Hunt. That's cool. They'll appear as random opportunities for players to visit and fight for money. Same as when these maps are for like Citadel and Canyon and appear, so on and so forth, like the arena style. But it does beg the question, if these will appear as the player to go in Crystal Hunt, does that mean you're going to be fighting that faction inside of the arena? Because at that point, it's just going to be like an enemy spawn wave, so I guess they could do that. But it says, however, the big difference is that for the lore logic, you will only fight the Reiki and the Rokta map, Centauri and the Centauri map, so on and so forth. Whereas in the vanilla maps, you could fight outlaws, wild folks, Iridian, and all that stuff. However, in sandbox mode, you're free to do so. So they're talking about the Crystal Hunt. So in Crystal Hunt, if you go to one of these new level arenas, you're going to fight that faction, which makes the most sense. So that's a confirmation there. And then in sandbox, you could fight whomever you want. And then we get to see more sneak peeks here. You got climbable ladders, ropes. Now here's the big thing right there. You see this little picture I'm looking at right in the center here? That's definitely a gong. I need to be able to ring that gong. I'm not kidding. I want to hit it with a mallet. And I want to go gong, you know, classic gong noise. And I want to be able to throw someone in to make the gong noise. If that's not in there, we riot. Baron continues and says each update will have one faction-oriented map. But in 1.2, you're going to get the added bonus of receiving both the Rakta and the Centauri maps. We're going to get 2 with the next coming update. The Enviro team worked under tremendous pressure to get this new map created in such a short amount of time, but they crushed it. I mean, the lighting alone, just from these renders, look amazing. And now Baron says, you're probably thinking, okay, so then where is the Centauri map preview? And he's saving that for the next news. Classic Baron devil face. There's also a Mapboard rework. So to go along with these new maps, they needed to have a better player access to them. And you could recall that the map board was just a map of Iridian, so it didn't really make sense to have the Rakta and the Centauri maps located slapped on there. So in thinking about the solution, they redesigned it like a spiritual redesign, so much that the map board was just designed to have a better layout and functionality. So you'll see by looking at this picture at the very bottom, you have the different tabs for the different kingdoms that you can just change by selecting them. And Baron says, as you can see in the interface, it's much cleaner, and it's a great solution. I'm glad they did that. And we also get more zoomed in location of where these factions live. So I think that's this, even just from a lore perspective, that's really cool. But something that's really cool about the system is that it's modder friendly. So if they're going to be adding like new locations for the Rakta, like they just did a contest, new mods came out for the Rakta's like locations, everything. So they'll be under those tabs for the modders to be able to move them there. Now here's something really cool, which is a complete rework to survival / a new game mode, which at this point is jaw-dropping to hear. So survival mode, if you didn't know, is an actual mode that you can play in Blade and Sorcery, but they have found it's been pretty much underused. It's like an underused game mode. I'm guilty of it myself. I think I've played that game mode maybe 5 times that I can actually count. And it's because it has too many similarities to the sandbox mode, which they even call it out on here. So it doesn't really give players any motivation to really play it. So they addressed this and went a bit overboard in doing so. And in coming to 1.2, they have a whole new survival mode that is super customizable, so you can tailor really cool and unique gameplay experiences. Look at those survival mode pillars. This is gonna be cool. Anyway, so to start, they added a bunch of new functionality to survival mode where you can earn skills as rewards and accumulate power across each wave like it's its own progression mode. Unlock new armor sets as a reward, or even acquire an entirely themed bundles as a reward for your different playstyles. They've added elements so that you can play a completely unique roulette game mode for a truly roguelite experience. Choose one reward per wave and then progress if it's good or bad, and you can only use that reward until the next round, and then it resets on the next wave. So one round you could be fighting off a wave with a rusty dagger, and then the next wave you can be annihilating someone with a molten beam. And Baron says, best of all, in the true Warfrog spirit, they don't like to tell you to have fun, so they added lots and lots of customization options that you can tailor to your survival any way you want. Maybe you want to get just the weapons and armor as rewards, but not skills. No problem, you could do that. Or how about magic only, but you're not allowed to use enemy weapons? Go for it. So that's pretty cool. You can disable to be able to pick up enemy weapons and stuff in this one. That is awesome. Or even if you wanted to play survival mode, but with your character kitted out with weapons and skills acquired from Sandbox, do it. And if you really wanted to, you could even tailor it to be like the old survival mode for nostalgia purposes and come full circle, that's classic Warfrog. But it's awesome to hear that they paid attention into that much detail and like, hey man, listen, this survival mode, no one plays it. So their hope is that players who have played Blade and Sorcery to death can enjoy this mode in a new way and experience the game that the player may not have previously considered or even been motivated enough to play it. So this way the player can tailor their game and have their, like a little structure or limitations to motivate them for new play styles. I'm excited for that. It gives me more ideas for videos and streams too. And the cool thing is you'll be able to play the survival mode on any map, including these new maps. And also it should open up framework to modders so they can also make survival mode and modded maps, which it was kind of a thing already. So it's cool that we'll be able to do that. Now we're not done yet. There's more surprises. So Baron says that is not everything. He says, I have some really fresh, juicy stuff to share with you, but you're going to save that for the January news. So stay tuned for more surprises to come. In January, Baron will be releasing a deeper dive into the aforementioned new stuff. And he closed with saying, that's all for the Warfrog team. We hope you have a great time over the holidays, and we will see you next year. Bye for now. And then he leaves us with a bottle of rum with the cork pulled out of it near has crashed ship. Okay, so that's it for the news for the Steam side of things. Let's just take a quick peek at the meta side to make sure it's the same. And just by doing a quick cursory look right here, it's different screenshots that he added, but the same information. So fret not Nomad, it looks like this is going to be in parity with the PC version, and Nomad will be getting updated around the same time, if not the same day, as its PC counterpart. I really wonder what the surprise is going to be, especially when I look at other modders, like someone like Hugh Johnner that modded in an entire ocean and island with a sailable ship that players can make use of. And I remember talking to Baron and Cosby a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, about the prospects of them adding like fishing or something. And I remember them saying they wanted to do that, but they didn't. They ran out of time. The scope was away from them. So who knows what they're cooking up, but I would love that. I would love a whole nautical theme. You get your own boat or something I don't know what they're going to do. I would love like just a little dinghy, a little rowboat. You sit there and you row it, and then you get your fishing pole you can cast and reel in, and I don't know, add like 2 fish to the game, or 1 fish, just 1 fish somewhere, like a Moby Dick style thing that the players can hunt down. Okay, I don't know what it's going to be. What do you guys think it's going to be? But anyway, that is it for the news. No more speculation. Let me know what you guys thought about this down below. But that's it for me. I'm Drifter from Downloadable Content. Thank you so much for stopping by. Leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.